fondest memory of my mother is when we were little girls, if we would get a tummy ache or any little ailment, she was so dear to us. She would get paper doll sets or coloring books. She would just treat us so kindly, and she would play with us then. She would do cutouts with us. And I remember what an honor it was to be able to play paper dolls with my mother, because she was very, very busy by the time I was born, being number 3 of 3 little girls. 3 years, with the maximum of 3 years between us. But she'd just stop everything and play. So she was just a very dear nurse. And I remember hearing later on that when my father was ill in his last years, that he didn't want, his preference was for Mother to take care of him because of the touch of her hand when he was ill. There was just something he couldn't explain, but it was very soothing for him to have Mother take care of him. His boyfriends. Jerry is my oldest sister, and she was student body president of her high school, and she was very popular. She had wonderful dates, and she was, of course, the first one in the family to date. So she would bring home these neat boys. One was named Fred. He was just tall and blonde and crazy about her. Fred was one of her dates, and then she dated a golfer who was a high school student but a pro golfer, or maybe an amateur, very, very good golfer. And she'd bring these different boys home. I just remember just being gaga over these wonderful boys she brought home, and they'd have this great repartee. Jerry has quite a good sense of humor, and these different boys that came to date her would have these great jokes going back and forth, and I just remember idolizing Jerry and her dates. And so I would like my 4 daughters to see that in a family of girls, that you can have your individual personalities, and you can have your differences of opinion and differences in lifestyle, but you can still be close-knit as a family and be supportive of each other in all of your good times, but so much, I don't want to say it's more important to have that support in your bad times, but it's just good to stay close as sisters and have the support of people who have known you all your life and who are there for you when times are tough.
One of my mother's best personality features is she's aware of people who don't have access to cars. For example, my granddad, who lives in a house by himself, and myself, who live in an apartment by myself, not always able to afford car insurance. She's willing, when she can, to come and pick us up and take us to church or to other needed activities at times. And then another really good personality feature is that she keeps going. She's in her 60s and she's still pretty active. I have to say that those are her 2 best personality features. A routine technique that I've seen my parents use that I'd want to use if I was a parent, that I think works pretty well, is positive reinforcement. When the child does something that's good and they want to support that activity and cultivate it, they bring it to the attention of the child, and they sometimes bring it to the attention of the other children and say, oh, look at what a good job Karen's doing of finishing her spinach, and that probably helps Karen to know that it's good to finish spinach, and that lets other kids know of an activity that my parents are happy about. An significant memory of another J, first one that comes to mind is Jackie, and when I was all alone, I can't remember if it was at Tutu's house or at Joan and Carl's. It might have been one time at each location, but I was all alone in a bedroom, and she came up and was really like a kind aunt who took interest in me and started talking to me, asking me about my life and telling me about her and her husband at the time. And to carry that farther, she and her current husband have let me stay with their family twice at their house on it was a trailer at one time, and then the next time it was a house on Lopez Island. And just a footnote, not a footnote, but to tell the truth, I'll probably remember Lisa taking me aside to videotape.
Well, I think the 6Js all show a little bit of Hazel. They're friendly and good-natured and very competent in putting out good food. And a little bit of Ralph. You don't want to mess with them. And when they make up their mind about something, they manage to put it across that you need to find your way to the same conclusion one way or another. They're good-natured bunch. They do a good job. They get along with each other most of the time, most of them. And some of them get along with the rest of us some of the time, some of them. Anything else you'd like to know? Well, I'm glad you asked if there was anything else, because there is one other thing that the Jays really have in common, and it's quite striking. They all married terrific guys. And I think that they should be congratulated for that. However, I am referring to the last time around, of course, not the various earlier times that may or may not be represented.
No, not yet. That's a long way. Isn't it very far along? No, but I